Rain's slicked streets glimmered under neon lights the night Olivia Kane froze in place, clutching a lamppost like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Across the road, a black SUV pulled up in front of a towering glass building, and out stepped a man she hadn't seen in years. Only, he wasn't the same man. He walked with slow, confident strides, wearing a suit that fit like it had been sewn on him, a faint scar visible at his temple, and a calm expression that made everyone around him straighten up. Employees held doors open, phones to their ears, murmuring, "Mr. Kane wants this by morning." Olivia's breath caught. The last time she saw her husband, well, ex-husband now, he was in a wheelchair, hands trembling as she dragged a suitcase out the door. And yet here he was, standing tall, alive, untouchable. She hadn't cried in years, not even when her new man left her broke and stranded. But tears burned her cheeks now. She whispered his name, Evan, and the sound of it disappeared in the hum of city traffic. Evan Kane had once been the man nobody noticed. He worked double shifts at a steel plant in a small, unremarkable town, came home reeking of metal dust and sweat, and lived on coffee grit and an unshakable belief that tomorrow would be better. He tucked every spare dollar into savings, not to flaunt wealth, but to build a safety net, so his wife would never worry about money. People mocked him for being cheap, for driving an old truck long past its prime. Olivia used to tease him too, rolling her eyes when he packed lunch instead of ordering takeout. But he'd smile softly and say, "Someday, Liv. We're planting seeds." For a while, she believed him. Their tiny house felt warm, their laughter echoed in the kitchen late at night, and dreams didn't feel so far away. But life has a way of testing love. That night was supposed to be just another late drive home. The rain was relentless, turning highways into mirrors of white light. Evan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, eyelids heavy from a 16-hour shift. He never saw the truck that ran the red light. The world became screeching tires, shattering glass, then nothing. When he woke up in the hospital, the ceiling lights buzzed faintly above him, sterile air biting his nose. A doctor stood by his bed, lips tight. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kane. You won't walk again." The words hit harder than the crash. Evan's legs felt foreign, dead weight under the blanket. He tried to move his toes, begged them to twitch, but they didn't. A part of him died that night. What followed was worse than pain. It was the slow erosion of dignity. The factory let him go, called it downsizing, but he knew the truth. Nobody wanted a foreman in a wheelchair. Bills piled up and their once cozy house turned cold. Olivia's smile vanished. She avoided his gaze, her sighs sharp enough to cut through the silence. Neighbors whispered from their porches. Poor Evan. Worked himself to the bone, and look at her now, always out, never home. He heard them. He always heard them. One evening, as he struggled to set the dinner table, a plate slipped from his trembling hands and shattered on the tile. The sound startled them both. "Sorry," he whispered. Olivia's face twisted, her voice trembling with anger, or maybe fear. "I can't do this forever, Evan. I didn't marry this." She gestured at him like he was a stranger, not her husband. Something inside him cracked that night, something no therapy session could fix. He wheeled himself to the window after she stormed out, staring at the rain-soaked streets, wondering if he'd ever feel like a man again. Weeks blurred into months. Olivia's clothes grew flashier, her perfume stronger. Whispers turned into open gossip. She was seen riding around with a man named Tyler, his shiny sports car parked outside their street. Evan didn't confront her. He already knew. Then came the night she didn't bother hiding it. He wheeled into the living room to find her packing a suitcase, Tyler leaning casually against the doorframe, his watch catching the dim light. "I can't waste my life like this," Olivia said coldly, zipping up her bag. "I need someone who can take care of me." Evan's throat closed. He wanted to yell, to beg, but no words came out. She walked past him, heels clicking like a countdown. Tyler opened the door for her, and she didn't look back. The house felt like a tomb after that. Empty rooms echoing silence, his wheelchair creaking as he moved from room to room out of habit. For days he sat at the window hoping she'd come back. She didn't. But what Olivia didn't know, what nobody in that town knew, was that Evan wasn't broke. He'd been quietly saving for decades. He had nearly $100 million sitting in accounts and investments, money he never mentioned, not even to her. People assumed he was just a humble foreman. They were wrong. And that's when Evan made a choice. He started waking up before sunrise. Sitting at the edge of his bed, he'd close his eyes, take slow breaths, and remind himself he wasn't done. He dug out an old notebook and started writing down everything he knew: factory operations, safety protocols, supply chains. 20 years in the industry had taught him where companies bled money, and he saw an opening. With one laptop, a used printer, and a rented P.O. box, he launched Kane Industrial Solutions from his living room. He hired a retired inspector and a young scheduler as his first team, paying them well and on time. "We don't make promises we can't keep," he told them. "Small jobs done right." The first client came from an old supervisor who respected him. Evan showed up in a van he couldn't drive, clipboard balanced on his lap, and quietly reorganized the entire plant's workflow. Within 2 weeks, downtime dropped, costs stabilized, and word spread. The man in the wheelchair wasn't just good, he was exceptional. Contracts grew. He rented a small office with a ramp and clean white walls, always leaving his door open so his staff felt his presence without fear. He paid invoices early, added health insurance, and treated every worker like family. "Reliability pays," he'd say with a faint smile. People started calling him a quiet killer in the industry. But Evan didn't just rebuild a company. He rebuilt himself. Therapy sessions were brutal. Cold floors, parallel bars, sweat soaking through his shirt as he pushed himself inch by inch. One day he stood for 9 seconds. Another week, 12. He logged every milestone like revenue, nodding to himself after each breakthrough. Years passed. His company exploded in size, landing contracts with major manufacturing plants. He'd walk through the office at night, practicing steps when nobody was watching, using the edge of his desk for balance. One night, he let go and took 2 steps without support. He sat down and cried quietly, not from pain, but from the overwhelming realization that he was winning. Meanwhile, Olivia's perfect life crumbled. Tyler's charm wore thin as his debts grew. The fancy cars weren't his. The dinners became scarce, and one night he vanished entirely, leaving her a note that said simply, "I can't carry you anymore." She went from lavish restaurants to standing in grocery stores, hearing women whisper, "That's Olivia Kane, thought she married rich. Look at her now." Gossip stung worse than hunger. And then she saw him. Downtown, in front of a skyscraper with Kane Industrial glowing above the doors, Evan stepped out of an SUV. He walked steady and confident, surrounded by staff who moved when he moved. Olivia stumbled across the street, tears streaking her mascara. "Evan," she gasped. I didn't know you could..." He glanced at her memories flickering behind his calm expression. The man she'd abandoned was gone. This man was forged in pain, in grit, in solitude. "Yes," he said simply. She dropped to her knees right there on the sidewalk, sobbing. "I was wrong. I was scared. I didn't know." People paused to watch, murmuring, "Isn't that his ex-wife? She left him when he was down." Phones came out. Nobody mocked him, only her. Evan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He stepped past her, his team falling in line behind him, the click of polished shoes drowning out her pleas. For the first time in years, he felt light, free. That night, Evan stood in his corner office, city lights painting his reflection on the glass. The wheelchair sat quietly in the corner, a reminder of who he used to be. The company logo glowed behind him, proof of what he'd built from ashes. "Storms don't break you," he whispered to himself. "They show you who was never meant to stand beside you." Somewhere out there, Olivia cried alone, learning a brutal truth. She hadn't just lost a husband, she'd lost the chance to stand beside greatness. And Evan, he didn't hate her. He didn't love her. He simply rose beyond her reach. So what would you have done? Would you have stayed through sickness and struggle, or walked away like Olivia? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your story, and if this one moved you, hit like and subscribe for more stories that remind us Loyalty is proven in storms, not sunshine.